when you were talking about what could be bigger than being aware, and you mentioned words like omniscient and omnipotent. I don't think I'd thought of those words, unlimited and ever present. But omniscient and omnipotent have a different quality to them. And do you feel omniscient and omnipotent? Do you have that connection to that experience?
Everything that is known, is it not known by awareness?
Yes.
That's it. Awareness is that which is, that knows all, that is omniscient. It doesn't mean that my finite mind contains all the knowledge there is to be known, but it does mean that awareness contains all the knowledge that there is to be known. What else could know knowledge apart from awareness? Let's say there was something else apart from awareness that knew experience. What would that be? What would its first quality have to be in order to know something? It would have to be aware.
It's just, I guess it leads to an imagination beyond what is directly known here. Like, I get what you're saying about knowing,
yes.
But it's somehow, I mean, it's interesting because you've said, I think at least 5 to 10 times on this retreat, how the finite mind, absolute consciousness has to incarnate as a finite mind to know something finite. And I've been mulling over how that has to then apply, that there's some way that we move ourselves back and forth from being absolute to finite. I mean, that's almost even the direct experience of, I mean, it wouldn't be a relevant thing to say if it weren't also something happening directly to us that was knowable.
I'm sorry, I lost you in that last
Just
part.
Moving from almost an absolute knowing where nothing is differentiated to literally seeing the rising, to seeing, like, going from the complete defocusing to being completely focused. I mean, we all experience that shift. Is that the same thing as moving from sort of being focusing is almost like finite consciousness to the defocused would be another way of saying absolute consciousness?
Yes. Consciousness absolutely unfocused. There are no objects
Yes.
in its perception. There is just itself. And as it focuses, objects come into existence, yes. So the finite mind is like the focusing of consciousness.
Yes.
Or the narrowing of consciousness. And so the finite mind is, each of our finite minds is just a very small segment of the total possibilities, the total field of consciousness.
Yes.
So the finite mind is extremely limited. What is appearing in my finite mind now is extremely limited. But the knowing that knows that limited knowledge is not itself limited. The known is always limited. The knowing is always unlimited. And just because the knowing with which our experience is known is unlimited doesn't mean that our finite minds should therefore have access to all knowledge at all times.
Do you think that's a confusion? Because I know in the story of the Buddha and in certain traditions, they actually speak about omniscience in almost like in a literal way. Like they don't just speak of omniscience as knowing, but as in that embodied being, there's omniscience. That's one of the attributes of an enlightened one.
Well, the enlightened one, there is only one enlightened one, and that is awareness. So if that's what the Buddhists mean when they talk about the omniscience of the enlightened one, they're right. The omniscience of infinite awareness, the enlightened one. There is no other enlightened one. The person is never enlightened. Enlightenment is the recognition that we are not a person, we are infinite consciousness. Some people that don't understand that think that the person is enlightened, and therefore they project magical qualities onto their teacher. And they put their teacher up on the pedestal and think that their teacher has access to all knowledge or is omniscient, or that's a misunderstanding.
Thank you.